In today's review, we're going to be looking at some more dispatch knives, and these are the Rambo style blades. Stick around. I just want to take a moment to thank you for tuning into this review. Special thanks to all of my subscribers, and if you're new to 411 Outdoors, I hope you find this content informative and resourceful. Let's take a look at these blades. Today's review is the result of a mail call. I did not purchase these blades from Dispatch, nor did I purchase the last ones that I reviewed. I got to be straightforward with you. This is going to be a difficult review, and I'm saying that based on what I've learned about these knives thus far, alongside of a $20 price point. If you're new to my channel, one thing you have to understand is that I enjoy the challenge of reviewing budget blades, and I put my hands on a lot of budget blades, and I have reviewed some really solid knives, some that have really shocked me based on their price point alongside of their substance, weight, quality, and all the rest. Without further ado, let's take a look at these knives in this particular series from Dispatch. These things are literally marketed as Rambo knives on Amazon, and from the onset, I do like the look of them. And I am probably the biggest Rambo fan in the world. I'm saying like literally probably the #1 Rambo fan out there, except for Part 3. I was not a fan of Rambo Part 3. I just didn't like it. Now, there were a few really cool scenes in that movie, but I'm a Part 1, 2, 4, and 5 Rambo guy. And yes, I had a Rambo knife back in the day. Listen, man, in the 1980s, when those movies came out, you know, I really started getting tuned into it mid-80s, and I was a young kid at that time, probably, you know, 8, 9, 10 years old, and I lived out in the middle of nowhere, and I had my Rambo knife. I would take off my shirt, I'd put on my camouflage pants, I'd put on my boots, I'd go out in the woods, I'd get covered in mud. I literally tried to like reenact the mud scene where I was like fully stealth. And I had me a Rambo knife. It had a compass and everything on it. I think I just got it from a flea market. But these are marketed as Rambo knives. And, you know, one has got a Bowie look to it here. And the other has a Tanto look. And y'all know I'm a huge fan of the Tantos. And, you know, very solid looking handles on these blades. I like the handle. They've got a good look to them. They're just very light. These knives are extremely light. You would think this is a heavy knife. This is actually a very light knife. And I'm going to go as far as to say that these handles almost feel a little bit like the handles that you get on a toy knife. I say that because they're just plastic and very light. Now, and the blades on these are also very thin. I don't know, maybe 2 millimeters, if that. Very, very thin blades. Now, I decided to throw one of these knives the other day, and I was successful in making the knife stick, but I still bent the end of this. All I did was throw it at a wooden target and kind of wiggle it to pull it out, and it already bent the tip here. So I can tell you that the tips on these knives are not very solid. They do feel very sharp out of the box. Now, I don't know how long you're going to be able to retain this edge, but these do feel very sharp out of the box, and they'll shave. Yeah, they're giving me a little bit of a shave there, not much, but you know, they do come really sharp out of the box. This particular Bowie actually has a saw on the back. Now, this edge here on the back does not. This is not an actual saw on the back of this Tanto. Now, these come with a very basic plastic sheath here. Again, you know, the sheath even just feels kind of like a toy to me. The site just says stainless steel, and it says the item weight is 0.9 ounces, which I wish I had my own way to test that, because this doesn't feel like it's quite 0.9 ounces. If anything, it's just coming from the bulkiness of this plastic handle, but it just feels very light. Now, if you're going to baton or chop with either of these, it's going to have to be light duty. I don't see this being a good batoning blade because it's got a blade on the other side. You'll end up cutting your stick in half. This one you could do some batoning with, but you know, with this blade, with this steel, you know, with these blades bending so easily, I would keep everything light duty. I'm not going to put these through an unrealistic, rigorous test, because I can already tell you that if you put this through a whole lot of abuse, you'll bend these blades all to pieces. Yeah, if you wanted to do light duty stuff, you know, whacking limbs off like this, I mean, it does perfectly well. Just light stuff, nothing heavy. It's sharp, and it'll do a little work for you. I would keep it light though. I could even recommend some light chopping here. Like I said, it's pretty sharp. It'll get stuff like that done. You can baton with the Tanto here. I'm just going to baton a little bit on the top of this cut down tree that I've got. Can't really baton with the other one, but you can with that surface there. It's not full tang or meant to be thrown, but it's fun to throw anyway. Remember this always with throwing. If you're ever throwing a knife like this that's not meant to be thrown, you're going to be fine for the most part as long as you're making a connection. But if you start missing and this thing starts bouncing off the target and hitting the ground and bouncing everywhere, it won't last very long, trust me. I'm a glutton for punishment, but I love to entertain, and I'm going to slice a soda can. Stick around. Sorry about that, y'all. That was a Predator quote. This is supposed to be all about Rambo. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a backup blade with you, having, you know, your primary knife, your primary combat or bushcraft knife, and maybe having another knife with you. And I could see something like this as kind of a light duty backup. I would not pay 20 bucks to make this your bushcraft knife, and I would not pay 20 bucks to have this as a combat knife. Now, I do want to be fair and tell you that if you wield this in combat, it's still a scary weapon. It's got reach. It's, you know, you're going to protect your hand. It's just light. It's going to primarily be a piercing object and a slicing object, but it doesn't come with a lot of weight and force. Same with this one. So I think my biggest issue with these dispatch knives is the price point of these blades. I think if they were probably 10 to 12 bucks, I would get it. But you're primarily, I think, paying for visual with these things. Is it cool looking? Absolutely, I'll be fair. It's a cool looking knife. If you want to get you something that looks all Rambo, then this has got the look. It's not going to perform the same way Rambo's knife did. And if you want to get out in the woods and pretend to be Rambo, that's cool too. Just pretend very carefully, because this does still have a very sharp edge on it. So here's my final assessment of these dispatch knives. They do look cool. I do like the look of them. They do got that Rambo look, and they are attractive visually, but they're very light and they cannot take much of a beating, and they are not full tang. This is not a full tang knife. I think you're pretty much just getting a visual with these blades and maybe some light duty work, but that's just about it. And I don't think that $20 is a good price point for this knife. It will shock you to get out on Amazon and look at fixed blade knives, 20 bucks and under, and the amount of blades you can get and the amount of substance that you get with those knives. And I just think this is a little overpriced, to be straightforward. I hope you found this review helpful, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.